come on a journey through middle grade books and see where your reading takes you. Hello, my fellow chatterers and possibly middle grade lovers, but it's okay if you're not. And anyone else who's wandered in because you have got a bit lost or you're a little bit curious about what is going on. I am Chatty, this is my channel Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away madly about my wrap up for Journey-athon, which was a readathon that I did in July, which is a very long time ago, but there really just kind of hasn't been a good opportunity before now for me to sit down and really kind of go over everything that I wanted to go over and dedicate time to this video. So Journey-athon was the very first readathon I have done, and it is focused on middle grade books, but you don't have to just read middle grade books, and it was inspired by these 4 beautiful books behind me, which I will go into more later. So I'm going to be talking through what I read for Journey-athon, and I'm also going to be talking through the points, because if you enjoyed yourself in Journey-athon, or if you think it sounds like a fun readathon to join in with, I will be doing it again next year. So next July we'll be doing Journey-athon II, and the points mean something. So the points that you gained for doing the readathon this year will mean something for the readathon next year. So I do just want to give a huge shout out to everyone who took part in this readathon. I had so much fun talking with you all, hearing you all being excited about the map and the prompts and the books you were planning to read, and to everyone who was either just trying a middle grade with it or using it as an excuse to kind of get as much middle grade in your TBR as possible. Thank you so much. It was so lovely to hear like what prompts you were doing and what books you were reading. Everyone who chatted in the Discord, everyone who shared videos, it was brilliant. Everyone who turned up for the live shows, I had such a great time. So I wanted to make sure that I did justice to kind of like the end of the readathon. I did do a live like celebrating the readathon's end, but I pushed myself quite hard, and I think I was literally like the last few lives, I think I was pretty much falling asleep in all of them. So I wanted to do kind of like a dedicated video to just say thank you so much everyone, and to also share all of these amazing books that I read and really do them justice and give them a spotlight. So I ended up reading 7 books for Journey-athon, which was awesome. I was hoping to read 5 and then push myself to 7 if possible, and I managed to do that. So I'm utterly delighted. I will go through these in a moment. But first of all, I also want to talk about the points and things as well that you could achieve by taking part in the readathon. I'm now not sure what to do with these books. I'll try and balance them here. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about the points first and kind of how all of that works. So if you have also completed your Journey-athon journey, I did specify it was a 2-week readathon, but that's kind of like how much time I felt that I could kind of dedicate to promoting it and pushing it and kind of having it as my focus. But there was no kind of absolute set end. So if you wanted to use the whole of July, if you wanted to use the whole year to do Journey-athon, absolutely fine. So if there are people still going, great, carry on your journeys, and when you're finished, you can add up those points. So let me tell you all about the points in this video so you know what you scored and what it could mean in the future. Then I'll go into the books to wrap them up and maybe just have a little bit of a chat about what might be in store for next year. Just some little bits and pieces that I might share. So with Journey-athon, you had lots of different paths. So my main focus with this is I just wanted to make it really fun and accessible for everyone. Everyone's got their own reading pace. I didn't want people to feel under pressure. I just really wanted people to have the fun. I love a map. I love a readathon. I love prompts. So I just wanted to capture that kind of joy, and it's especially those kind of middle grade vibes where you get like fun worlds, fun characters, fun places. I really wanted to encapsulate all of that. So I also have to do an absolutely massive thank you to my friend Vicky, who did the map and the logo for Journey-athon. Her graphics, her artwork is incredible. I did some pencil drawings of some symbols and she recreated them for me, making them look amazing. And I said, I want something with a compass, and she made this amazing logo and the one behind me. And of course the map, which I'll go on to in a moment. So the idea was that you could choose 4 different paths. So we have the magic path where you use portal travel and you could read like 1 to 4 books. So we've got this here in purple, and the symbol is kind of like the sort of like the idea of magic and the idea of 3s being in magic. I did take a little bit of inspiration from some Wiccan symbols for these. So we have 3 dots in a triangle, 3 sticks around the edge, and then a swirly bit around the middle for the magic one. And on the map, the key is stars. And then the next travel thing, so the quicker travel, is the air path. So this is where you use sky travel, and you can read 5 books for this one. So if you just wanted to stick to that path, that's how many it is, but you can also jump in between, which I will also go on to as well. And for this, we have a little arrow kind of pointing up, and some like horizontal lines underneath, giving that kind of feeling of traveling through the air and like the wind. And then we have these little wind swirls to show the paths. Then we have the water path where you use sea travel, and that was reading 7 books if you stuck to the water path. And here we have what looks like a raindrop splashing downwards into, so we've got a couple of lines sort of like sea spray with some curly bits, sort of like waves. And then we have a couple of waves as the symbol on the map. So 7 books for that one. And then finally, if you wanted to read as much books as possible, you might wanted to have chosen the earth path and done land travel. And for this one, the idea came from Vadania Silver Scribe of trying something maybe like a tree. And this worked really well with the Wiccan symbols. So we have like a triangle kind of going into a horizontal line of the ground. And then with little branches coming off, so it looks more like tree-like, and then having this like sun arching over the top. That was the idea behind that. And we have footsteps to show on the map. So you could choose any one of those, or you could hop around. So with the graphics, I felt really happy to get many printables for people to be able to download, because that's something that I love when doing readathon. So I wanted to give people that option. I was hoping to kind of do a lot more myself, and like be able to be playing around with it a lot more. But I also found that I was still kind of like doing final bits and pieces for the readathon rather than just being able to sit back and just kind of play with it. So I'm kind of doing hindsight drawing and fiddling around in my book journal. But I'm having fun. It's all good. I just want to be a lot more on top of it for the coming year, so I can just sit back and relax a little bit more. So I have a blank copy of the map. So this is the Journey-athon map. It has 9 different places that you can travel to, and at each place, depending how you get there, there will be a different prompt linking to it. So everyone starts off at Prologton, and everyone wants to get to the City of Party. And that's where you finish your journey, and you might hit all of the places on the way, or you might not. Again, depending how much you want to read and how much you want to interact with it. And I had a blank graphic available for people so that you could draw your own journey on it if you wanted to. But I also have, if you wanted to chop and change, I had a graphic with all of the paths on it. So I've also got the individual paths, so you can follow the different prompts on there. But if you wanted to chop around, you've got, I'm not sure how good the camera is. Is it going to focus in? Is it a little bit too blurry? It's not really doing a great job at focusing in, is it? Okay, so we've got fuzzy, so we're not going to worry too much about it. But if you see here at the smoky mushroom, you have got the land, the portal travel, the sky travel, and the sea travel. All those different ways of traveling coming from Prologton to the first point, the smoky mushroom. So depending which path you choose to travel on, depends what your prompt is going to be for getting to the smoky mushroom. So you might decide that you want to actually go from Prologton to the smoky mushroom via land travel, but once you get to the smoky mushroom, you don't want to do any more reading. You just want to get to the City Party. So then you can use the portal. You can travel by magic with portal travel, going all the way to the City of Party right there. So different options for people to play around with, and I will use this map to explain what my own personal journey was. But first of all, I'm going to talk about the inspiration books and the points. But before I do that, I realise I haven't done my little gimmick. So I cannot edit on this channel. It is just one shot, no editing at all. I only have the power of pause to aid me. So chaos can happen. We don't know. And the waffle is just unfiltered. Once I start, I can't stop. So here we go, everyone. Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. And on that note, I'm just going to grab a quick cup of tea because my voice is already going. So the first thing is deciding roughly how many books you think you were going to read for Journey-athon. So if you thought you were just going to read one book and you read just the one book, then you would get 10 points for reading one book. Obviously, that book had to be middle grade because the way for doing Journey-athon is you have to read one middle grade book. So if you read one middle grade in the West for adult or YA, that's fine. But because I wanted to promote middle grade, one of those books needs to be middle grade. But I also understand if you're just dipping your toe in, you don't want to exhaust yourself by getting overloaded with middle grade. You know, mix it up a little bit. Also, some people I know when we were talking about middle grade March felt a little bit middle grade burnout, and I don't want anyone to feel middle grade burnout. So that's why I'm not like being really strict. Have fun with the map is basically the key, and read a middle grade book. So here we go. One middle grade, you got 10 points. If you planned to read two, or if you planned to read 2 or 3 or even 4 books, your first books would be worth 1 point and the final book you read would be worth 10 points. So for example, 2 books, 1 point, 10 points, you got 11 points. 3 books, 1 point, another point, 10 points, total of 12 points. 4 books, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point and 10 points, total of 13 points. Any books more than that then are worth 2 points. So your first 3 books are always going to be worth 1 point. So if you planned to read 5 books, your first 3 books would be 1 point. Your fourth book would be 2 points, and your final book would be 10 points. So here we go, maths. So 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 2 points, 10 points. So we've got 3, 4, 5 and 10. So that is a total of 15 points if you read 5 books. And then the books continue to be 2 points apart from your last book, which will always be 10 points. So if you read 6 books, sorry, I'm doing this because I like a visual, and I'm explaining it just in case you do not have the eyeballs for this, so you can hear my voice and understand what all the points are. So for 6 books, 1 point for your first book, 1 point for your second, 1 point for your third, 2 points for your fourth, 2 points for your fifth, and 10 points for your 6th book, giving you a total of, because I've already written it down, 17 points. Still going, hold on. Okay, you read 7 books. Are we ready? Let's see how many I can hold. If you read 7 books, 1 book, 1 point, 2 book, 1 point, 3rd book, 1 point, 4th book, 2 points, 5th book, 2 points, 6th book, 2 points, 7th book, 10 points. So that would be a total of 19 points. And the same again for 8, which would give you a total of 21 points. And for 9, you would get a total of 23. And if you read 10, you would get a total of 25 points. And if you read more than that, the 2 points continues to go. But I don't feel anyone would have read more than that. If you have, let me know. I'd be interested. If you're someone that reads a load and you can pack a load in, marvellous. But yeah, very much up to you. Now, that is not the only thing with the points, because as I said, hold on, let me just get rid of this book stack. Right, I know I could just shove the whole lot off, but these are all my special books and I don't want them to be damaged. And I need to put Nevermore together. There we go. I feel better now. I've organised my books. I could have paused, failed. Never mind. Let's have tea. And appreciate the beautiful teacup. That is good brew. That is good brew. Okay, so as I said, this readathon was based on 4 books. So the first book obviously had to be the book that inspired the name of my channel, which is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Through the Looking Glass will also count as well because it's part of the Alice world. And actually, that inspired the magical travel of this one was the Looking Glass that Alice goes through and through the Looking Glass. But the places came from Alice in Wonderland. So Alice in Wonderland was the first inspiration book and inspired the Smoky Mushroom and the City of Party, which are two places on the map. The second book, no, let's go for the, there we go, right, air travel. So for the air path, using sky travel, the inspiration was Cattywampus by Ashvan Otterloo, which is a supernatural fantasy about two witches. And the places that this one inspired was one of my favourite places called the Grombies, which is Granny Zombies, and Whittleaway Village, because it is set in the, I can never say it properly, I want to say Acapulco part of America, but I could be wrong, but they do lots of handicraft like whittling wood and basket weaving and quilting, and there's a lot of all of that kind of stuff, so that was the vibe for that one. So there we go, that was the airpath inspiration book. The sea travel inspiration book, this book doesn't actually contain a lot of sea travel. There is the Thames River, but the idea of being on a boat and a ship within Georgian London, especially if you were black, was possibly being basically like kidnapped and sold into slavery. So it had a very big kind of sort of like background fear behind it. So the mode of transport, the ships, was kind of like a big fear kind of factor. So the sea travel would have been quite scary. And there is one moment in here where they are on the docks and they are near the ships and boats and things. So that was the inspiration for this one. This is the Lizzie and Belle Mysteries. This is the first book, Drama and Danger, by J.T. Williams. The second book, Poison and Portraits, would also count if you did read that one for Journey-athon. This is a mystery series. It's a historical mystery set in Georgian London, and it features historical figures Lizzie Sancho and Dido Belle, and there is something strange kind of going on. Lizzie's father is being attacked at the theatre, and they want to know why there was an assassination attempt on him and what is happening. And the final book that inspired, so the places that were inspired by Drama and Danger was Sancho's Artistic Port and the Boardwalk Theatrics. Neither of which are places in the book, they just have the vibes of the book. And then we have See You in the Cosmos by Jack Cheng, which inspired the land travel Earth Path, and the places were the observatory towers and what was the other one? Camp Launchpad. There we go. Wobbled the camera there. Observatory towers and Camp Launchpad were inspired by this book. Again, sort of referenced in the book, but mainly the vibes of the book that inspired them. This is a contemporary book, and it features a boy who wants to send his iPod into space. He's done a rocket engineering. He wants to enter this rocket competition because he wants aliens and planets to be able to listen to sort of like what he's saying. He's really fascinated by all of that, and the whole book is done by little it's kind of like little voice notes or like a little podcast that he's doing, and other characters will sometimes come in and talk on it as well. But it's basically, you absolutely fall in love with this boy who I've totally forgotten his name of, Alex. You just fall in love with Alex and his way of seeing the world, and you just kind of want to adopt him. And it's the people he meets on his travels. You find out a little bit more about his family, and it's just a gorgeous book. So these are the 4 books that I wanted to highlight for the for Journey-athon. So because I was highlighting them, if you did read one of these books, or in the case of 2 of them, a book within this series, then you could get more points for reading them. So for example, if you read, the only book you read for the readathon was Alice in Wonderland, not only would you get the 10 points for reading a book, you would get 5 bonus points because you read an inspiration book. So you get a total of 15 points. If you read Alice in Wonderland and See You in the Cosmos, then you would get the 12 points for the books, but also 5 points for Alice, and 5 points for Seeing the Cosmos. So an extra 10. So you would get, just double checking. Pretty sure I've written 21, but I feel it should be, no, it is 21, isn't it? Yeah, 21 points. I don't know where I've got 22 from. I won't say 22, but it's not 22. 21 points. You would get 21 points for reading 2 books, but they are both inspiration books. And 3, you get 15 points for the inspiration books, plus the 12 points for the regular points, and that's a total of 27. For reading all 4 and nothing else, you would get a total of 33 points. So that's 20 extra points for reading all the inspiration books on top of the 13 points for reading 4 books. And obviously, you know, if you read, for example, if you read, for example, 6 books, but 2 of those were inspiration books, then you would get the 17 points for reading 6 books, but an extra 10 because you read 2 inspiration books, which would give you a total of 37. So that is the feeling behind that. However, if 4 of those books were inspiration books, and then you read 2 more, then you would get the 6 points, which is 17, but you the points for 6 books, which is 17, but you would also get 20 extra points for reading all 4 inspiration books, which would give you a total of 37. Did I just say 37 for reading 6 books and 2? I hope I didn't, because that would be incorrect. And I have no idea if I did or didn't, because I can't stop filming and edit this. So just in case my brain had a little moment there and I just gave you the wrong thing, I'm just going to backtrack to reading 6 books, but 2 being inspiration books, which would give you a total of 17 plus 10, 5 points for each inspiration book, which would be 27. Hopefully I've not made this too confusing and complicated after all that and just gone mad with explaining things. Anyway, that is the points. I will be adding the total points table. I've done a little graphic of that, so I will add that to the Google Drive, which will have all of the other graphics and information about this. I am not amazing with technology because most of the things are in a PDF and then the information about the readathon was in a Google Doc. From clicking the link that I've put as a Google folder to the video, I can only, when I click on it myself, I can only access the PDF images. I can't find the Google Doc. If I personally go into the Google Drive that I set up and the folder that I set up for this, I can see everything. But I don't know if you can access that. So please let me know and I will try and fix it, or at least we'll talk to someone who can help me fix it. But I will put up that chart so it's easier for you. But in the document, I do also kind of break it down as well. So it should kind of go through for like the first few ones to give you an idea. I don't go through all of them because that was a lot of typing, but I can do if you need it, let me know. And if it is complicated for anyone who either can't hear everything I'm saying or can't see the visuals, please let me know and I can try and talk you through it and make it a bit clearer, because I don't know if it's clear or not. It's clear for me, but I invented the whole thing. So there we go. Waffle, waffle, waffle. That's the points. So I am now going to talk through what I read, let you know a little bit about the books, what prompts were, what places I hit, and then I'll let you know my total points. And then we'll kind of look ahead to what will be coming up for Journey-athon II. So the first prompt I had for Journey-athon was right at the start here at Prologton. It's the same prompt for everyone at Prologton, which was read a book featuring a mode of travel on the cover. Quite a lot of things count for a mode of travel. I really was not specific, but I went for Sprinkle of Sourcery because it has a ship on the front cover. I loved, this is by Michelle Harrison and it is a middle grade fantasy and I absolutely loved A Pinch of Magic. I can't remember when I read it. I totally lost track of when I actually read A Pinch of Magic, but I absolutely loved reading A Pinch of Magic. It was the book series, like when I started kind of this year, I knew there were a lot more middle grade series that I really wanted to start. And so I did a little vote, and the Widdersin sisters, the Pinch of Magic series, was the one that won. So I'm really delighted to have been able to have carried on, and especially have featured it in Journey-athon. So we have 3 sisters. I've totally forgotten the name of the eldest sister. I can remember the younger 2. I can't remember the name of the eldest. So let me find that out now. So the eldest sister is called Fliss. The youngest sister is called Charlie. And our protagonist is the middle sister, Betty. So all of them live in... We have it here. There we go. We obviously have a map, which is marvellous. So here we have Crowstone, which is this little island. And here is the Poacher's Pocket, which is the inn where they live with their grandma. I'm not going to go too much into it than that, because if you've not read A Pinch of Magic, I will spoil things. So I'm not going to say too much more than that. But what I loved about A Pinch of Magic is that you kind of had this folk tale with the curse and these magical items, and it was so much fun. I went into this book thinking it can't be as good as Pinch of Magic, because the story and the way the story worked, it was a one-time only thing. It's not something you can kind of continue and kind of keep going with it. So I went into this book going, I love the girls. I think they're amazing. I love the kind of combination of them together, where you've got the youngest, oldest and middle, and all their different personalities and the way they interact. So I was looking forward to all that and kind of seeing more of an expanse of this world. But we got another folk tale. We got another legend. This one is based more on kind of like pirates in the sea and treasures and this legend. So you see the sisters embarking on kind of another sort of like mini quest. And the way it's done, it makes sense that adults aren't involved. And that's one of the things I love about middle grade today, because I struggle as an adult to go, it's not a good idea, guys. Why don't you just go and get help? But then you have that whole, if they go and ask adults for help, it kind of defeats the idea of the story. So the way it was done worked really, really well. I knew I wasn't going to love the plot quite as much of A Pinch of Magic, because there was just something really special about that one. But it was so enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, because I love the plot a lot more than I thought I was going to. And I think that was because of this legend. I think Michelle Harrison does such a fantastic job of weaving the legend with the kind of present day and how it reacts and how they see it, and just kind of the kind of like moral themes on all of it as well, and just the appreciation of loyalty, of sisterhood, of friendship, all of those things. But it's not preachy. It's really fun. It's very cute. There's lots of kind of silliness. There's like different quirks to the characters. They've got their flaws. They've got things they need to do better at. And I love it. She did a brilliant job with this. Cannot wait to continue the series. The ending was a little bit rushed for me. I kind of wanted a little bit more time kind of with the resolution. But other than that, absolutely brilliant. Cannot wait to continue and read Tangled Magic. And I just found a bookmark. So this is the bookmark I had in this book. It is Ocean. I'm not sure what mythology Ocean is part of, but obviously she's some sort of like water deity. I imagine some sort of sea deity being called Ocean. But it's a gorgeous fairy loot bookmark here. Oh, got a little bit of sparkle going, a little bit of foiling going. And I've been wondering what had happened to it. I hadn't moved it out for Sprinkle of Sourcery. So there we go. Win-win. Bookmark find. Okay, and then on my journey, I went to the Smoky Mushroom, and my path options were to read a book with a mystery word in the title or series, which was if I went via boat. I don't think I did that. Was to read a book with a disaster on the front cover. If we went by broom, I did not do that. Walking, reading something cosmic in the title, definitely didn't do that. Yeah, okay, I went by portal. Can't remember my journey anymore. So portals, here we go. Taking the portal path from Pelogton to the Smoky Mushroom was to read a book with something crazy or unusual on the cover. And I chose the Crackledawn Dragon because it has a very unusual cover. It's got a dragon, a sea dragon here, which is pretty crazy and unusual. So that was mine. This is the fourth and final book in the Unmapped Chronicles series by Abby Elphinstone, and I have been buddy reading this with Vadania. So we both had Rumble Start, really wanted to start the series. I got the rest out of the library. I'm going to own them at some point because I want to read them with my children because they are amazing. If you love that kind of classic feeling of a portal fantasy with children, where the children kind of grow throughout their adventure and you have such a whimsical world full of like joy and delight, but also this threat of danger and this kind of encouragement of the children to kind of really kind of dig deep into their character and find the best part of them and be able to carry on. That's these books. That's these books right here. Abby Elphinstone's writing is amazing. She has this wonderful kind of narrative voice where you can see that she gets children. She gets that, what it's like to be a child, what it's like to be in a world where you're not understood, where you don't feel you have a voice, where you feel that you have to always do what other people say and maybe people aren't listening to you all the time. She gets that, and the way she talks about it is just so you feel like she's giving you a massive hug as you read along with the story. It's just beautiful. I have loved every single one of these books. This book, I think I'm going to say, is my favourite. And it's quite hard to say because I loved all the other ones. Even Jungle Drop, which is lots of people's least favourite because it takes you a while to warm up to the characters in that one because they've got a lot of work to do. Still love it though. But with this one, there is just one of my favourite characters of all time, which is a chameleon called Mrs. Flickertint. And she is just the best character ever. She is so lovely. She is hilarious, beautiful, just a gorgeous, heartwarming person, but will also fight your corner, so loyal, and she's hilarious. So, love Mrs. Flickertint, as did Vadania. We had a great time reading this book. So this kind of brought the conclusion of everything really satisfactorily. I wasn't sure if there was going to be another book in this series because there was a world that wasn't explored. Get a little bit of exploration of that world as well, which is very nice. And there are certain things that you kind of like that were mentioned previously that you come back to, which was also very nice. And what made this book, as well as Mrs. Flickertint, what made this book kind of stand out from the others in this series was just my emotional reaction to it. It absolutely pulled at my heartstrings so much. This features a child that is grown up in the care system and doesn't believe that the world cares about him anymore or that there's a place for him. It also has some fantastic disability rep in here. Obviously, I don't have I can't speak from any experience of what it is like to have a disability, but from my reading, it felt like it was really good. It felt a brilliant representation. Obviously, check out other people who can speak kind of more from a shared experience of what they thought about the representation. But from my point of view, I thought it was really sensitively done. I thought it was very good at showing this is just an aspect of their character. It's not their personality. And it kind of gave a background reason to kind of other character traits that they developed. But it was a lot more about sort of trust and friendship rather than focusing on what they can and can't do. And the character was very strong and a wonderful character in her own right. And I really, really enjoyed it. So the characters in this one fantastic. The emotional heartstrings in this was fantastic. The adventure was fun. We've got more magical items which were great. There's more kind of hilarity about what use these items are going to be. They were quite random and they were looking at them like, thank you so much for these. The side characters were wonderful. Abby Elphinstone's brain is just incredible. And what I need in my life is for all of the Unmapped Chronicles to be given illustrated copies, illustrated beautiful hardback copies done by a fantastic illustrator like Chris Riddell. I would love to see his artwork to Abby Elphinstone's like conception and ideas. It would just be incredible. Any publishers watching, please make this happen. It would be amazing. This book needs so much more love, so much more pushing, so much more getting out there into our lives. It's wonderful. Gonna have a little bit of tea, then we're going to move on to the third book. Okay, so going from the Smoky Mushroom, I then went to Whittlaway Village. And oh yeah, so I chose the air path from the Smoky Mushroom to get to the Whittlaway Village here, and for that I had to read a recent purchase. And my recent purchase that I was so excited about was Onyeka and the Rise of the Rebels. I loved Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun. This is by Tola Okaguru, and it's just absolute glorious, strong protagonist that doubted herself, that finds herself, and the thing that she's been most self-conscious of becomes her greatest strength. And you can see from the cover, if you can't see, we have Onyeka in this gorgeous golden jumpsuit, and flowing out from her head are this amazing hair. Onyeka is of African heritage, and it is just black girl magic. It's beautiful. So her hair, which had been kind of like a point of kind of like sort of embarrassment, is her superpower, and it's amazing. So we pick up in this one where the story left off in the first one. So all of that kind of cliffhanger, kind of going from, not full on cliffhanger, but a bit of a cliffhanger, going from like what the characters do next. We are in there, we are at this point, we have all the characters kind of adjusting to everything that happened in the previous book, which I really appreciated. It's very much a found family, but it's a found family that has also been hurt and broken, so they are struggling to kind of like get on. They are, as much as they can, they're struggling with their own emotions, they're struggling to connect, they're struggling to keep going, but they're pushing themselves to do this. Have got a mixture of children and grown-ups in here, which is really refreshing, and how they use their own strengths in here and how they have to trust each other. We also get new characters. This is a new character. I wasn't sure, I didn't recognize them from previously, but this is a new character that comes into book, which has an interesting relationship with Onyeka. I wanted a little bit more. I wanted them to kind of like dig deep into that a little bit more and pull it apart a bit. But we might get that maybe in the next book, I don't know. Because there were a lot of relationships that needed to be kind of dug into and pulled apart. Obviously the focus is on Onyeka, so it is her emotional journey, it is her reaction to events that have previously gone, that this is the focus. The plot is fast-paced, it's lots of fun, we've got lots of amazing magic in here. We get plot beats that we wanted from the previous one kind of coming up in this one, which is great. Our four kind of main characters, a little nuclear family, all get time in this one. Not quite as much as they did in the other one. It is very much kind of on Onyeka, but there were other characters from the previous book that get to come back into this one as well, which was a huge amount of fun. There's a lot of like joy in this, as well as like emotional kind of heartache, and there's a lot of kind of character soul searching in this. I didn't quite love it as much as the first, and I think this is just due to a particular trope in here that's not my favourite, but I can understand where it comes from. It's just that it was used twice. Once I could have coped with, but it was used twice, which kind of just kind of slid me out of it for a little bit. But altogether, really enjoy this story. Cannot wait for the next book in the series and to keep going with it, because although certain things were wrapped up in this one, it feels like the door has just been opened for even more expansion into the world and into the story and exciting things to come. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the journey. So the next point on the map that I went to is the Grumbies, and I chose to walk this time. So I walked, there we go, sunshine, from Whittlaway Village to the Grumbies, taking the Earth Path. Because I took the Earth Path, my prompt is to read a book that has a quest. And for this, I chose a book that I'd got, one of the books that I got at the library that I was really excited to read, and that was Zachary, Ying and the Dragon Empire by Ziran J. Zhao. So this is, again, a
can't remember if I said what the other books were, but so far it's all been fantasy, and it's more fantasy because it's my favourite genre. We have a fantasy that uses a lot of Chinese mythology and folklore that is kind of thrown into the modern day world. So in terms of that kind of concept, and also in terms of the kind of jokey style, like quick dialogue humor that's in this book, it does give me a lot of Percy Jackson vibes. I have very little knowledge, if any, of Chinese mythology and folklore, so I am really keen to pick up a book about it and then read this again to kind of get those little references and crossovers. But it definitely, Zero J Zhao definitely made me want to pick up a book which has Chinese mythology in it, and they definitely made me want to research it and find out more, which I feel that's kind of part of what she wanted from writing this story, other than just to tell an amazing story. So it definitely worked. It worked on me. So we follow Zachary Ying, who is a Chinese American 12-year-old. And we have this kind of theme of identity of him not being sure where he fits in. Should he suppress his Chinese identity? Should he pull out more of his Chinese identity? He wasn't quite sure about how he felt about it. So this was a really good kind of exploration of him sort of coming to terms with all of that and kind of realizing that maybe the friends he had at school are not exactly friends. Maybe they are mean and more bullies, and the traits that they have are not ones you look for in an actual true friend. So I enjoyed that kind of aspect of it, as well as the folklore, and it was just really, really fun. It's a really fun adventure. And what is really interesting about this one is that so Zachary kind of like has this connection to this spirit of this dead emperor, so this mythological figure. And then he meets two other children that have a similar thing. So you have Simon and you have Melissa, and both have spirits of characters from Chinese history or folklore or legends or myth, kind of like sort of embodying them a certain bit. So they have times where they will take over the body and times where they will continue, and they kind of like get their fighting skills and things from them and like other powers and are able to use them. But obviously these like myth and legend figures need the children to be able to do a certain amount of things. There was a really fascinating point in this where you're like, which is the good and bad side of this? Because it's not clear. So that was another really fun aspect to it as well. So you have these group of children, you have this kind of like, what are we really here to do kind of suspicions going on. You get a lot of fun banter, you get a lot of kind of fun mixture of like history with the modern day, but you, as well as the mythology, you also get retellings and interpretations and kind of what the mythology has inspired, what other stories it has inspired. And what I loved about this is that the inspirations that have come out of it are kind of held as lore. So if there is a character from a myth that then starred in a film based about their life, and then from that film became like, the concept was then taken and put in a video game, but in the video game they give them like an extra power, that character will have that power from that video game, or anything that kind of came up in the film, they will have embodied that as well. So it's kind of like it's all added on to the legend. So this you can kind of build up, and that the legend will then have those powers as well, which is really, really cool and a lot of fun. So I had a great time with this. It was a really fun ride. I cannot remember a huge amount about the plot. I just remember enjoying it at the time. So it's definitely one that I think I need to reread before coming out. I think, again, it's because there were a lot of time where I was unfamiliar with the folklore. So I'm hoping that I can embed it more into my brain by reading up on the folklore and then enjoying the book. You don't have to do that. I just kind of I'm someone that can remember a lot of plot details, like and names of characters and dialogue after things have happened, like generally. Not so much since children, because like I think they ate part of my brain. But generally I can. So it bothers me when I can't always remember. And I also really like, it's like I feel like I have FOMO. I feel like I need to be in on the joke and in on the Easter eggs. So I like to then like find out links and things after I've read something. That's just the way I am. But you can just still enjoy this as a standalone story by itself and just have a great fun time throughout. My next one was Sancho's Artistic Port. And I knew I wanted the water path to get to Sancho's Artistic Port. Because here we are at the Grumbies. There we go. So from the Grumbies, I wanted to sail all the way around here into port. This is just a little fun thing that I liked in terms of the inspiration, because it was inspired by the Lizzie and Belle mysteries. The idea that when you get to Sancho's port, they can leave the scary ship behind and they can take a little boat up a river to go to the Citya party, so it doesn't need to be scary anymore. So I just wanted them to have like a little nice bit of sea reference as well. So that's why my prompt for this one, if you go by the sea, is to read a cozy book that makes you feel safe, or a book that has a bright and colourful cover. So of course, with it being a Lizzie and Belle prompt, I wanted to read Portraits and Poisons for this one. And the cover is incredibly bright and colourful, and most middle grade I find cozy and makes me feel safe. Anyway, so that was quite a big one, unless I was going to read some sort of like freakier, spooky book, which this isn't. So although there's definitely sinister threats kind of lurking behind it, generally cozy vibes. So I went for this one. I loved it so much. It was such a fun time. I really love the historical detail in this. I'd say for me, when I think of mystery books, I like to have kind of like a big kind of range of suspects and be kind of thinking about who it might be or who it might not be. This is a historical mystery, and I feel although it's very mysterious, I feel the stronger part is the history and exploring the themes and the journeys of the characters, rather than trying to work out the mystery and think about who it is. Like, I wasn't so much interested in that. I was just kind of more interested in the story and where the plot was going to take me, rather than trying to work out the mystery as much. And I think I had the same kind of feelings for Drama and Danger as well. So absolutely highly recommend if you love historical fiction, if you love fiction about families, about friendship, if you want to read more about Black voices, and read about Black characters in history and all of those things, warm cozy feels, all of that. And if you enjoy a bit of a mystery, definitely. But if you are a mystery reader and you want to be really confused and to work out the plot and to work out the pieces and to kind of put it all together and just detective it up yourself, I don't think you're going to enjoy it as much. So don't go in really wanting all of that. But if you're enjoying the mysteriousness within a historical setting, then you're going to have a really good time. What I really love about this duo of the Lizzie and Belle mysteries is in the first book, Drama and Danger, you get it from Lizzie's point of view. She is a much more kind of go with your gut action girl, whereas in this one we follow Dido Belle, and she's the researcher. She is the let's plan, let's come up with an idea and then go for it. And I think they just complement each other really well. Their friendship is just really special. And I also went off on tangents with this one, and I started tracking because it makes references to portraits. And I went and tracked down and was looking up those portraits that were what was referenced, and kind of looking at things and exploring all the historical facts in here as well. So it did take me off on another tangent, which is what I love about reading. Like things I wouldn't have thought about before or known about before, just being able to come to light through reading a book. And I think what was explored in here was really, really interesting. And I love how the kind of two different themes. So in the first book, you have a lot of theatre kind of based stuff, and in this book, you have a lot of art based stuff. I really hope we get a third book or a fourth book. I'd love this series to continue. I feel that it was definitely sold as a duo. I don't know if any further books have been commissioned by the publishers, but I really hope they do, because I had such a great time with it. I think the characters are great. They have like flaws and weaknesses and strengths, and that kind of confidence and belief in themselves. They also have very different backgrounds. So you have Lizzie, who comes from a family of it's a big family. Both her parents are black. They are both free people, and they have a trade business. Her dad also has a lot of artistic creative outlets. I think her mum has that as well. But they're kind of like, I would say, of like a middle class, lower middle class kind of social standing. Whereas Dido Belle, she is an illegitimate child of a white aristocrat and a black, I think she was a slave that worked in the family, and she is basically raised by her white aunt and uncle. So she has a very, very different life to Lizzie, and it's really interesting seeing those two differences and kind of how they kind of shape how they both feel, shape their characters. It was a really interesting read, and I just love it. I have a great time with these books. Okay, 2 more to go. So our next stop was, I then went on to Camp Launchpad. I was like, I think I can squeeze it in. I think I can just about squeeze it in. Didn't quite manage to do it within the 2 weeks, but from July, I definitely managed to squeeze it in. So we have, where did I go? Oh yes, so I took the land, I did land travel. I took the Earth Path to Camp Launchpad, and that gave me a book with an object on the cover. And I read Alice in Wonderland, which is full of objects. So this copy is, it's a Puffin illustrated copy, and the illustrations are done by, let's get her up, by Anna Bond here. And I adore her artwork. I think it is gorgeous. This is the Under the Dust jacket. I have it naked because I just think it's so beautiful. Like, the front cover is gorgeous. It's burgundy. You've got Alice running along through the flowers, but this just lilac cover with Alice in the middle and just an assortment of stuff surrounding her. It was amazing. So with objects, we've got a hat. We've got the cat. The cat's not an object. We've got the hat. We've got playing cards. We've got flowers. Behind Alice's back, on the back, we have a drink bottle. I love that. So we have Alice's front and Alice's back on the back of the book. So we have the drink me bottle, so full of all of that stuff. And I'm just going to show you some more gorgeous illustrations. So here we have the story of the mock turtle and the griffin, which because it wasn't in the Disney one, people don't recall so much. And I just love, we've got the sea here and seagulls and these lovely like wildflowers that could be growing by the shore. This was a reread for me, but I hadn't read it for a really long time. And I'd forgotten, like, well, not forgotten, but I didn't know I was going to find it as funny. Like, I do enjoy zany humour and random stuff. So I know it's not for everyone, but I did enjoy this one. And I'm going to read you a bit that I found really, really funny. Oh, here's some dancing. I did enjoy the lobsters dance as well. Quite like to try a lobster quadrille. So you do a little dance move, throw a lobster in the sea, go and catch it, and then come back and carry on the dance. Sounds hilarious. And so here we've got Alice dancing with a lobster, the mock turtle dancing with a lobster, and the griffin dancing with a lobster. So the bit I want you to read, where they're talking about the whiting. Oh, as to the whiting, said the mock turtle, you've seen them, of course. Yes, said Alice. I often see them at Din. She checked herself hastily. I don't know where Din may be, said the mock turtle, but if you've seen them so often, of course you know what they're like. I believe so, Alice replied thoughtfully. They have their tails in their mouths, and they're all over crumbs. Wrong about the crumbs, said the mock turtle. Crumbs would wash off in the sea. I love Alice just constantly putting her foot in it. Like, her relation to animals is that she eats them. And they realise that's not a great thing to say because it offends and upsets quite a lot of the characters in Wonderland. Understandably so. So I just enjoyed all of that silliness. And I'm just going to show you one last illustration from this particular book because I think it's such a classic Alice illustration. And it is the swelling of the cards. So it's all the cards coming after Alice and all the cards sort of like swirling around in this big circle. Such such a beautiful copy. So I read from this copy behind me here, which is the, what copy is this one? Oh, another bookmark. Just finding bookmarks all over the place. This is exciting. Collector's edition of Who? Wordsworth. A Wordsworth collector's edition. I love this because it's tiny. It's such a cute copy, and I really like the illustrations on the front. I think these copies are adorable. So I read from this. It was really fun to read this little cute copy. And on the back you have, where in the world am I? Ah, that's a great puzzle. And the lovely flamingo scene. So again, gorgeous illustrations on this one. Lovely tiny book. But also reading from the illustrated copy as well was just great. So I had a great time with my Alice books. And so we're going to move on to the final book. That's just going to clear some debris. So my final book, I travelled from Camp Launchpad using Portal Travel, or I could do Earth Travel. I think I chose Portal because I haven't done a lot of Portal. Doesn't make a difference because the prompt is the same. To get to the City of Party, all you need to do is read a middle grade. That is it. So the most basic of basic prompts to ensure that everyone gets to read something they want to read. And I chose The Insiders by Mark Oshiro. So this was the book that I pulled as my Feagle. So I got to steal it from under my bed. So I needed to make sure I read it so that I got to keep it. And I have been looking forward to reading this one for such a long time. I struggled to get hold of this book. This is not widely got hold of in the UK. I can't even remember where I actually did end up getting hold of it, but I was very excited because I think I'd actually got it from World of Books. It's a hardcover. Yes, I know I did. I got it from World of Books because I saw it and it said it was there, and I was like, I need it. And I was able to get hold of it. I wasn't expecting it to come in hardcover. The fact that it did, massive bonus because I love a hardcover. It just feels nice in my hand. I just like that you can just hold the book like that and it will just stay open pretty much. And you get to do that as well. I love that noise. So much fun. Anyway, so this is The Insiders, and it is a magical realism book. So it is sort of, contemporary, set in the schools in America, but there is a one factor in it of magic that turns it into magical realism. So I'm going to read you the taglines on the back. 3 kids who don't belong, a room that shouldn't exist, a year that will change everything. This is such a fantastic book to read for anyone who feels like they don't fit in, they don't belong, anyone being bullied. It was a really, really heartwarming story. So it's got a lot of LGBTQ plus representation. We have one child who is gay and out. We have another child who is a lesbian, and we have another child who is non-binary. So all in different schools, all with their own different struggles for different reasons. Our protagonist is very confident, but he moves to a new school which is not like his old school. And he not only has to contend with being bullied by a child, but he also has to contend with being bullied by an adult. So some people might find hard to read, but the payoff that you get at the end is great. And it's not all doom and gloom. It is, I think Mark Oshiro does a great job with balancing like the harder bits to read with then the funner bits or the magical moments or the moments of niceness in there. So we get to follow, I can't remember his name, Hector. So this is Hector Munoz. So Hector Munoz is a Latinx American, and his grandma was, let me just check. Yeah, just wanted to check. His grandma was from Mexico and immigrated to America, which is where they now all live. And Hector is an out and proud gay kid. His old school was sort of into the performing arts. He kind of loved hanging with the theatre kids. He had his own style. He was out and proud. His new school doesn't have the same vibe, but he goes in full of confidence. But unfortunately, there's not a great settling in of new kids schools in the school policy. It's kind of a like, here's your timetable, good luck. So anyone who's ever been new, you know what it feels like. It's really awkward. So Hector has a little bit of difficulty finding his feet and unfortunately manages to annoy the wrong person, as in someone who's a massive idiot and decides to have a massive chip on their shoulder and make fun of other people who are different. Great. But luckily for Hector, he's just so plucky. He's just such an adorable character. I really like him. I like a theatre kid. I like anyone that's like gonna try and like stand up for what they believe in. And he just tries so hard, and there's some very low points in here where you just want to give people cuddles, but there's also some really high points as well when you get that emotional payoff, you get the hugs, you get the friendships, you get things working out well. And I found this so easy to read. I just picked it up, read, and just got all very emotional. So I had an amazing time with this book. I thought it was brilliantly done. It definitely gives me the kind of vibe that you got from Lonely Castle in the Mirror. It's got in that sense that people who don't fit in trying to find a way to fit in and having this kind of like little hidden secret group of people that become friends. That's where it compares. It's very different in its kind of tone. This is a lot, you can tell from the cover. If you look at the cover, it's yellow, we've got orange writing, the lockers are incredibly colourful, we've got very kind of colourful clothing on the characters here. So it does feel like it's got much more of a kind of positive, upbeat, quirky vibe to it, whereas Lonely Castle in the Mirror had much more of a kind of mysterious kind of almost like fairy tale-esque beauty to it. And I'd say the kind of colours would feel a lot bit cooler, like more kind of like blues and purples. I don't know, it's just me. But it reminded me of that. So I think if you enjoyed that and enjoyed all the themes and things that were explored in that, you will also have a great time with this one. So this was a fantastic book to end on. It met my expectations and more of what I was hoping for. It gave me everything that I needed in here, all of the emotional stuff. It was gorgeous. So that is all of the books that I read for Journey-athon. I had a great time. I loved everything I read, which is what I wanted from this. And just being able to just focus on middle grade and just get lost in middle grade was so fun. So my points. So I read 7 books. I've moved my sheet over here. Come back. So I read 7 books, which is a total of 19 points. And then I read 2 of the inspiration books. I read Alice and I read one of the Lizzie and Belle mysteries. So that's 2 sets of bonus points. So I've got an extra 10 points. So I have a total of 27 points for my Journey-athon. Let me know what you've got if you have added it up. I would love to hear. So what is going to be in store for the next Journey-athon? So again, it is going to be around the beginning of July, and it is going to be another map. I will be keeping Prologton and I will be keeping the City of Party. City of Party is going to continue to always be reader middle grade because that is the bare minimum for the readathon, and everyone wants to be able to get to the City of Party. That's where you need to get to. Prologator on the prompt is going to change, but again, it's just going to be a kind of more universal one, so it's just going to be the one prompt. But then we're going to have 8 brand new places to travel to, and those 8 brand new places are going to be inspired by 4 brand new books. And I've already started chatting to people in Discord about what kind of books they want to read. So there is going to be a classic book, and I already know which one that's going to be. So I've already got 1 book locked in. The other 3 I have ideas for, and I have kind of where I might want to go with it. But I wanted to make sure, again, that I have a range of genres. So I've been talking to people in Discord about what genres they like, what themes they like, so I can try and make sure we get a range, and also what representation they want as well in the books, because all of that is important to me too. So hopefully I will have a new set of books for you to be excited about, to go and explore, and some brand new fun places and prompts that are going to come out of it all. But as well as all of that, I am also going to be adding in some magical items too. So there is going to be a possibility that with the points you get, you are going to be able to purchase magical items, not actually purchase, like just purchase as in the readathon. So the points, you will then be able to like clock them up and get a magical item to help you on your journey. So these will just maybe make the readathon more interesting for you, or more helpful for you, or be able to kind of get you around the map a little bit easier. So if you have not participated in Journey-athon, it is okay. I am going to be doing sort of ways that you can get points before you start the readathon if you haven't been able to do that yet. So all of the new information is going to start coming out. I'm going to start being drip feeding little bits of Journey-athon from January. I'm also going to be chatting to everyone in Discord and kind of running through some ideas, getting some votes on different things. So if you enjoy middle grade books, and if you like Discord, come and join my Discord, which is called Middle Grade Mad Chat, which is a Discord that is mainly about talking about middle grade books and being exciting about middle grade books. There is a little section to be able to talk about other books as well if you're enjoying chatting with people within there and just enjoying about chatting in general. But I have designed it to be able to share recommendations, share other middle grade based readathons, be able to talk about middle grade books and get excited about middle grade books. So that is kind of the purpose of that Discord, because I hadn't found a Discord that was kind of all about middle grade. So that's why I made that. And that Discord is where I do a lot of kind of promotion and ideas for Journey-athon, and I always share stuff on the Discord before sharing it on YouTube. So if you want early access, come and join the Discord. It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope if you took part that you had a great time. If not, there is no time limit. You can carry on reading if you want to. If you want to start just randomly, whenever you want, feel free. Let me know. I'm always excited to see what people choose and what people do. It does give me a lot of joy to know that I've created something that someone else finds fun too, and to watch you guys all having a lot of fun with it as well. So thank you so much again for everyone taking part. Thank you for everyone watching. If you have enjoyed this, please give me a little like. If you haven't already enjoyed the vibe, why not subscribe? That's always nice. And give me a little chat in the comments, because you know I love it. Please let me know anything that you've been reading recently, any good suggestions for middle grade books, because I always like to hear more about them. Or just any reactions or opinions to any of the books I've spoken about already. Happy reading, everyone!